Namaste everyone. Welcome to the new episode of Bharat Bhagya Vidhata. Today we are going to discuss the boys locker room incident and the legal aspect. We are not going to discuss the social media trials, we are going beyond the social media trial and discuss the legal and institutional aspects of the problem. Before we move on, I would like to give you a disclaimer that me and my group do not support any kind of incidents which happened in the boys locker room or the girls locker room and the social media trial afterwards, because we believe that is the work of judiciary. We are here just to explain the legal part and the institutional part of the problem. Before we move on to discussing how the consequences might roll out and what are the institutional lapses and social lapses, I would like to give you a recap of what exactly happened. So basically, Boys Locker Room was a group created by boys who lived in Delhi. This group was a private group and was first made for sharing memes and notes from classes and school, but afterwards the malicious act of sharing posts of girls, sexually objectifying them and commenting on their body parts was started. This was then exposed by a girl who attained membership of the group and took screenshots of the chats and members of the group and posted them on her IG stories. She exposed another group called Jay Ka Skirt Gang, which too went viral. A public interest litigation has been filed seeking handing over the investigation in the boys' locker room case to CBI or founding a special investigation team SIT on apprehensions that accused students who belong to well-off families might be able to influence the local police. The Delhi police have arrested one suspect and apprehended another teenager. So far, 20 members of the group have been questioned. Now let us look at the laws under which these boys have been charged. Section 465, Section 469 and Section 471 of the Indian Penal Code have been charged on these boys. These sections are related to punishment for forging any document or any record on electronic form or forgery for harming reputation of any person. Now, the kind of chats which were circulated and which were being done in this group were definitely harming the reputation of these girls, and therefore these sections have been charged. Now comes section 509 of the Indian Penal Code, which is any act, word or gesture to insult the modesty of a woman. Again, these chats have clearly done that several times. Under IT Act 2008, circulating any sexually explicit material, obscene material or sexually explicit material depicting a child is punishable offense, and these boys had circulated screenshots of underage girls and commented on their body parts. These boys are also charged under section 13 and 14 of POSCO Act for allegedly circulating the screenshots of underage girls. Now, after all the social media battle on Instagram, the person who put the screenshots on her social media was threatened by some anonymous accounts. So different sections of IPC for criminal intimidation have also been charged on these boys. The section being section 506 and 507. This group consisted of adults as well as boys under the age of 18, and some of them were also under the age of 16. Now for the members who are above 18, they will be tried like adults in the courts of law. It is to be seen that what happens to the children below the age of 18 and especially below the age of 16. Now, there is an act called Juvenile Justice Act 2015 which says a juvenile can be treated as adults, but the crime should be heinous. Now, it is on the courts to decide whether this crime is of the magnitude to be called as heinous or not. But looking at the precedent, it is hard that courts will categorize this crime as a heinous crime. So mostly anyone under the age of 18 will be sent to juvenile justice homes if convicted. This problem should be looked by different perspectives, one of them being legal, social, institutional. We will be looking at the institutional structure of juvenile justice and whether it is adequate to tackle such problem and whether it is capable to reform the children who will be sent to juvenile justice homes if convicted of such crimes. Look, these crimes are really new in nature because the technology is new, the courts of law and the precedent is yet to form to deal with such acts and such crimes. So it is safe to assume that even the institutional structures to reform the convicted children will also be inadequate. But for that we have to go to the history of juvenile justice system in India. Before the juvenile justice system was enforced, juveniles were mostly treated as any other criminals. But the United Nations General Assembly adopted a Convention on the Rights of Child Treaty in 1989, which was signed by 140 countries including India. This convention seeks to protect the best interest of juvenile offenders. Article 40 of the convention states that to protect the social reintegration of juveniles, the child cannot be compelled to give testimony or to confess guilt. This led to the Juvenile Justice Care and Protection of Children Act 2000. The Juvenile Justice Care and Protection Act of 2000 is the primary legal framework for juvenile justice system in India. The act provides for special approach towards the prevention and treatment of juvenile crime and provides a framework for the protection, treatment and rehabilitation of children in the scope of the juvenile justice system. The original Juvenile Justice Bill only holds children between 7 and 17 legally responsible for their crimes and punishes them with a maximum of 3 years in a rehabilitation center no matter the magnitude of crime. Post Nirbhaya case facing nationwide criticism on inadequacy of strict laws where they commit heinous crimes like rape and murder. The Parliament passed a new act and lowered juvenile age to 16 and proposed adult-like treatment for juvenile accused of heinous crime and rest remaining the same as it was. This Juvenile Justice Care and Protection Act 2015 replaces the Juvenile Justice Act 2000. In this case, if minors were convicted, they might be sent to juvenile justice home as child in the conflict of laws. However, there is no sufficient evidence on how juvenile justice system in India is inclusive of offences done by minors on social media platforms as these crimes are relatively new. Coming to the second institutional problem, how much is Instagram responsible? Now, this is a very important question because all these activities have happened digitally on this platform. There have been talks and questions raised about how much Instagram is responsible as a regulator platform and how much can it regulate such conversations happening in groups. Usually, Instagram and such apps enjoy immunity under Section 79 of the IT Act as intermediary platforms. The defense from Instagram is that it's just an intermediate platform and it cannot regulate the content being circulated in the groups and private groups as it would be a breach of privacy. But according to Section 20 of the POSCO Act, Instagram is under the mandate to inform the police authorities or the specific authorities when such incidents come into its notice by tweets or any other medium. So far, Instagram has done very little about it. It has just issued a statement from its official spokesperson and not even reported a complaint to the special units of the police. Thank you for watching this video. Tell us how can we improve in our upcoming videos. Please comment your suggestions and your compliments in the comment box below. Do not forget to like the video and subscribe our channel. Thank you and Jai Hind.